Spring is here, and um, I'm just looking outside to my backyard and seeing all these flowers blooming, my dogs peeing, and it's a good day.
Well, I am in New York City and it is not spring. It is still cold, although I guess for New York, it's kind of warming up. So, New York is something that you know about, of course.
But the great thing about when it does become spring in New York, it is like a celebration. Here we get nice weather, most of the time, decent weather. But boy, the appreciation for spring back east, it's like, I'll tell you something. I had a roommate years and years ago, and she used to say, you always comment on the weather. And I go, she goes, I never met anybody who did that. And I'm like, oh my God. Because I remember my mother would say, when it was a nice day out in where we lived in Philadelphia, the suburbs, my mother would spend the whole day on the phone saying, have you been out? Get outside. It's gorgeous. You got to get out. Get outside. She spent the whole day inside telling people to get outside because it's like there's such an appreciation because of the harshness of the weather, So, boy, when spring hits in New York, it is like Mardi Gras.
It is like Mardi Gras. It's like literally, I've lived in the West Village in Chelsea. So it's like, but it is that thing where it's like, okay, it's not that warm out, people, and people are like in tank tops and shorts. It's like you have a great body. I get it. Like we all know it, but like, I don't know if March 29th is the day that you should show everyone your great body because it's not that warm yet.
I know, but they've been dying. They've been dying all winter long.
Dying. Well, speaking of New York, when you look back to your time on SNL, like, does that seem like a lifetime ago or does that seem like just yesterday? When you left 2000, that's crazy to me. It's 22 years ago.
I know. Yeah. And it's just gotten more popular because it's become more primetime than anything. And, and I'm always amazed at like the news coverage of, after a show, sketches that we used to think, it didn't go so well. They're in the news now. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. It's really interesting to watch. It's one of the shows now you don't have to watch it to see it, because you just see in the news or, social media, little snippets of things, and it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's still fun to watch to see what's going on in the news and how SNL is going to reflect it.
Do you ever think like, man, like what it would be like, I guess, like you said, it's positive. Like if you had social media, like, we've come a long way with social media, right? Like if you were on during like a height of like social media, everything is online within like seconds.
Yeah. God, I remember when I was on the show, I remember Tina Fey saying something about to me, this email thing. And I go, that's never going to work. No one will ever do mail or trust mail over a computer. But I was just in New York like last week. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I got to Watch What Happens Live and Bobby Flay and see my friends. It was a blast.
I saw you on Watch What Happens Live. I have some things to say about that in just a few minutes. All good, of course. Okay. Well, I know you were discovered at the Groundlings, and that's how you kind of got SNL. You were is the Groundlings like, in my mind, it's such a rite of passage for comedy. Am I just like making that up? It seems like you were there with Kathy Griffin and Lisa Kudrow, like some of the greats.
Yeah. And I'll say, people that went not on SNL, just, went different places, like as writers, Mad TV, Paul Rubens, you know what I mean? Like there's so many people that, went in different parts of the business and had success. I would say the Groundlings was the perfect training ground for SNL because the number one thing was it taught us how to write and write characters, write sketch. And because when you do get on SNL, even though they do have writers, no one has to write for you. So the writers write what they want to write. And, you're just hoping that you're included that you're written into it or they cast you. And, unless you are most of the time a funny white guy, you better know how to write for yourself.
Wow. What was it like at the Groundlings with like, what was it like, Lisa Kudrow, Kathy Griffin, like what was
They were before me.
okay.
And yeah, and I used to oh, when I was in taking classes, I would, on Friday night, 10 o'clock, you could see the Late Show, which was an all improv show for free if you were in classes. And I didn't miss a Friday night. I learned more from watching those late night shows about theater, playwrights, because I didn't get it. And I didn't get into acting until I started taking classes at the Groundlings. I moved to Los Angeles to get in the music business. I worked at A&M Records. But I took classes the whole time. And to me, like, I thought to myself, could you imagine being a Groundling? I would have never have dreamt as big as what happened.
Wow. When you first were approached to audition for Saturday Night Live, what was that like? Were you like, were you nervous? Were you,
or was it? I just thought to myself, I remember I had quit my job at A&M and I was temping at Disney Legal. And I remember and it's funny, being a temp, nobody invests in you. Nobody wants to get to know you because you're going to be gone, or they feel like they're cheating on the person that you're temping for.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is lonely. And but I remember my manager at the time called me and he goes, what are you doing next Monday? And I go, very funny, I'll be temping at Disney Legal. And he goes, no, you're not. You'll be auditioning for Saturday Night Live. And I go, wait, what? Because they had come to see a showcase for Chris Kattan. And I had one sketch in, and I got the audition from that one sketch. And I was like blown away. I used to think, I'll be able to tell my grandchildren I auditioned for SNL. Here, I got SNL and I won't have grandchildren.
Life is all about trade-offs now, right?
Right.
I mean, right. So were you just, when you got it, was it like, okay, stay calm, or was it like, this is it?
I screamed because it was a process. There was 2 trips to New York, and then they came out to see a regular show. I remember Lorne Michaels and Bernie Brillstein came to see a regular show, and it was a process. It was, and you just didn't. I had no idea. Like, weeks went by. And you just think, if you're not hearing anything, but they were seeing so many people at the time. And it was above and beyond what I had ever dreamed of. I just dreamed of being a Groundling, and my love for it and my devotion to it was like, I never, ever found something that felt that exciting and good and fulfilling creatively. I was just and I'm like, wait a minute, so I'm going to be doing this as a living?
You're like, wait, I'll pay you to come on Saturday Night Live this year.
Right. And and it was just like, oh my gosh, I never thought a dream like that so big could happen to me.
How nice was it to be with like Chris Kattan and like Will Ferrell, like people that were at the Groundlings?
Yeah, I felt like I was with my brothers. You know what I mean? It was good, and everybody who got the show that year was wonderful. And we were all. It was like NBC before then had kind of cleaned house,
right?
So everybody was new. So it's like starting first grade. Everybody's starting first grade. No people had been there and had been maybe jaded or anything like that. It was, everybody was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and appreciative.
And then, so you get there, you get this great opportunity. You mentioned like the writers, like, so that's how it works. Like, they don't have to write, like, say they hire however many people, you could either be in a lot of sketches or not. Like, it's really up to them to write.
Yeah. Really, you're auditioning for a show every week that you already got. You don't know if you're going to be in it. And, you know, luckily